to introduce our beloved Reverend Ray. He's an amazing minister in the area, and he can tell you more about himself if he wants to, but he's amazing. And so just anticipate delight and wonder and wisdom. Welcome, Reverend Ray.
So how is everyone today?
Great.
Listen, folks, how many people here, this is the first time you've seen me? Okay, there's like 3. Okay, so the rest of you already know. How are you this morning?
Awesome!
Thank you.
Awesome!
Thank you. So, science and technology and the medical industry and folks are finally getting to the point where they understand and they realize this whole thing called mind-body science, right? Like they're acknowledging what we already knew for the 100 years that there has been the science of mind, that what goes on in the mind affects the body. So, what they are now saying and identifying is that if we identify ourselves with lack and with pain and with suffering, and that's what we identify ourselves with, then that we experience more of it. And that if we experience the other stuff, it's because that somewhere in our mind and our consciousness, we have shifted and we no longer identify with that. So for example, those who know me, you know my background as one who has had a very challenging and interesting childhood. Many would say that it was an abusive childhood and such and such and such. And for years, that's what it was. It was, hi, I'm Ray, I'm an abused child. Well, I'm not a child anymore, I'm an adult, but I'm still an abused child. Because that was the consciousness that I was aligned with. I had many therapists who aided me and supported me in, you are a sufferer. You are a child of adult alcoholics and such, and because of that, you must suffer. I must suffer? Yes, you must. Okay, then let me go suffer some more. Because I bought into it. Hook, line, and sinker. Because the professionals, they know better. I mean, someone went to school and became a PhD and an MD and a QLMNOP to learn this stuff. And they said, it's what I'm supposed to feel. So I believed it. Until I found Uncle Ernest and he said, boy, if you don't shut up. Just because somebody tells you this, there is this power and a presence that you are as the I am. Start identifying yourself as that. Amen. And I was like, whoa, whoa. I like this song. I don't know the words to it yet, but I like it, so let me keep practicing it. And I sang it for a while, and eventually the song became not something that was just from my mouth and my vocal cords, but it came from my heart. And then I stopped saying that's what I was. It's what I experienced. Yes, I experienced these things. Yes, but it does not mean that's who I am. That's a completely different thing. So here we are in 100 years of science of mind, and this month we've been talking about like what is science of mind. So last week when I was in DC, we talked about prayer. What does prayer mean? And one of the things that I threw out there was, let's boldly go where no prayer has gone before. Meaning, how many practitioners are in the room? Okay, so those of you who are practitioners, do you remember when we were learning how to do a treatment and we had the RURTR or RURGR or what we had to memorize. Okay, first there's the identifying that God is all there is. Then there's the I have to unify and connect that I am it. And then there's the whatever the thing is, it's not real, and then I have to be grateful, and then I release it, and then I say, and so it is. Like we practiced it over and over and over again. Right? And then eventually it became a part of us, and we just know to the degree when some of us don't even do those actual steps. We just speak. And the ultimate thing is, at some point, we realize nothing even needs to be said. Because one of the things that all the folks, whether it's Emma Curtis Hopkins or Joel Goldsmith or Ernest Holmes or the Fillmores, somewhere in all of their readings, all of their writings, all of their teachings, they eventually get to the point that they say, when you know, and you know that you know, then it is so. That nothing needs to be said Because one of the things I threw out there was, let's anthropomorphize God for a moment. God is still that old white guy sitting on a cloud somewhere with this huge book in front of him, going through determining heaven, oh no, you're going to hell. Like, going through this thing, determining, right? Does this deity need to pray? What could God need to pray for? God doesn't need to pray. God says, let there be light, and there is. God doesn't say, let me bow down and make the sign of it, and let me, our Father, that's me. God doesn't do this because God is it. So God simply creates of and from itself, period.
Yes.
But if that's what we are it expressing itself as in and through us, then shouldn't we be creating, demonstrating and manifesting, speaking and walking from that exact same place? And if we're moving, thinking, etc. from that place, then should we get to a point when we're not thinking as men and women think? That we're not thinking as humans think, but we are thinking as the I am thinks. Which means, at some point, let me 3 steps back. How many people in here sing? Okay. As Amy laughs, she's like, yeah. How many dance? How many cook? Okay. Has there ever been a time when singing, you're learning the song and the words are going, okay, so third line, like whatever. You're going through the words, like you have to learn the words. And then eventually you get to, I don't need to read the words, I know the words. And then you get to the point where you don't even know the words know you.
Yes.
And you simply let go, and you are singing from a place that the old Negro spirituals refer to as God. You just let go. Where the dancer is no longer dancing, but the dancer is the dance. That you're no longer reading from grandma's cookbook or whatnot to learn the recipe, that the recipe knows you and is simply expressing itself in whatever you are cooking. That there is a point when you simply are it. And I understand that we have, for linguistic convenience, we still refer to God being in or being with. And I understand that because there's this linguistic convenience. In order for me to have conversation with Amy, there is a part of my dualistic mind that separates and sees Amy and I. I don't refer to myself speaking to Amy as me talking to myself. I have to talk to Amy. Right? So there is that aspect of, but there also has to be a part of me that knows and understands that we are one and the same. And that when I know on a human level we are one and the same, why would I ever want to harm her, knowing that by hurting her, I'm hurting me, and by hurting her and hurting me, I'm hurting all. So that's just on the human level. When I simply let go and truly step into this place of knowing, what then becomes possible? All of the things that we talk about, and this is where we get tripped up with the whole, there is no racism, there is no sexism, there is no transphobia, there is none of that stuff. Yes, I understand. It does not exist in the mind of God as truth. Yes. But if you fall and break your leg, do you not go to a physician to have them set the bone so that your body can do what your body is built to do and heal it and mend it? Or do you simply, God is all there is only one? Because I would venture to say that you are going to treat while dialing 911, and while sitting in the ER, and while going to physical therapy, and while learning to walk again, and while learning to ski again. You treat through it all. You know, but then you also do what is ours to do as human, ours to do as flesh and blood as well. That's when we walk that fine line, because there has to be a point when we understand, I'm not just this. I am this and so much more. So when things come up, and they will, racism, sexism, the phobias, all of that, do we go into our thinking about them of the woe is me? The place of suffering and, and anger about this, but we're not ever stepping into the place of, I can feel anger and treat. I can identify this and speak and move from a place of truth. I can do both of these because the more I stand in and think about this, the more I have to stand in the place of duality, and that's all I see and that's all that exists, and therefore I have to suffer. Because human nature, as our Buddhist friends will tell us, everything we are doing is to gain pleasure and avoid pain. Everything, every relationship, every friendship, every meal, everything. Well, that's nasty, and we will avoid it. Oh, this is delicious, and we'll eat more of it. Even when it's something that we know, 2 boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts, even when we know it's not the best thing for us, it's so good, though. Because we are focusing on only one tiny piece of our mind. How often do we identify that there is only one mind? I have to make up my mind. You know, should I go on vacation? Should I not go on vacation? I have to make up my mind. Versus, let me surrender to the one mind that there is. Let me surrender and let God determine where it, as me, wants to go and when it wants to go. And then there is no more pros and cons, pros and cons. Which should I? What was the song, Amy? I know, and when I don't know, the universe tells me. I know, I always know. And when it's time for me to know, I know. Rather than I have to look for, when do should I take the job? Should I not take the job? Should I, I don't know. Should I propose? Should I not propose? I don't know. No, I don't know. Ray doesn't know, because Ray can only see what Ray can see through these going that way. Ray will never see Ray's own face with Ray's own eyes. We can never see our own face with our own eyes. We can see a reflection in a mirror. We can see a reflection in the water, in a very shiny spoon, but we will never see our own face through our own eyes. Because it doesn't work that way. So how many other things are we not able to see because we are limiting our vision? How many other things are we not able to experience because we are looking through this tiny little box? It's like when the eclipse comes and kids make a little pinhole box so you can see. How many of us are walking through life thinking and moving and having our beingness from that tiny little pinhole of a view? So recently I've been reading a lot of Joel Goldsmith because I'm taking this class, History of New Thought, as part of my requirements for being a licensed CSL minister. And my project is Joel Goldsmith. So I have to do an interview. I'm interviewing Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, and Phineas Parkhurst Quimby is interviewing Joel Goldsmith. So I've been reading a lot of Joel, and I'd like to share with you some of the things that I've recently read. So in Rising in Consciousness, page 1, we are unfolding states of consciousness, and our outer experience is never going to be any greater than our inner unfoldment. The only hope we have for greater health, greater success, and greater harmony in our human relations is through the unfolding of our inner or real consciousness. Page 6. God is the life of all form. God is the substance, the law of all form. God is the spirit and soul of our form. God, appearing individually as you, constitutes all there is of you. God is the life of you, and that is why you are immortal. And now, because God is the substance of your body, even your body is immortal. Your body is not flesh and blood as it appears to be. God is spirit, and your body is spiritual. Your body is as immortal as your life, which is God. Anybody else in here breaking into a sweat? Prayer, page 172. Prayer becomes not asking of God, but a realization of the truth. that that which God is and that which God has is already the fullness of your being and of mine. Prayer then becomes an eternal sense of gratitude that I and the Father, being one, all that the Father has is mine, and I am always about my Father's business. Oh, I'm going to share this one. Page 36. You carry your own atmosphere. You are the law of God. When you come into this place, you are the law of God, the presence of God. You carry the atmosphere of health and of wealth. And everyone in this place will see it and benefit by it. I carry the atmosphere of my being with me, and it blesses not only me, but all who come within the range of my body, the range of my thought. They must be blessed, even if they touch my coat, because I am permeated with the atmosphere of God. Do we think that? Or is it easier to think, two roads diverged in the wood, and I took the one most traveled? Because that's the one that's easy. That's the one that does not challenge me. That's the one that does not call me every day, in every moment, to think higher, to speak higher, to do higher. It's easy to just be Ray. It's far more difficult to be Ray, knowing that Ray is an expression of the I am. That even this body is not simply matter, but that it is God, it is spirit, showing up as form. But that even this, when it is time for it to go wherever it is that it goes, it is not the end. Because it can't be. Because there's only one life. And that life is God's life.
Yes.
And that life is eternal. And that life is my life now. So everything that we say of God, it's about us. So when we say God is magnificence, so are you. God is eternal, so are you. God is love, so are you. God is infinite wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, creativity. Yes, and so are you. And the moment we surrender to that, how could there ever be writer's block when we're in alignment with the very creation itself? Because there is not a moment when creation says, got all these leftover parts. There's some cats and some ducks. I'm going to just put them together. It's a cat and a duck together, and I'll call it a platypus. There you go. Like creation doesn't get confused and just start throwing stuff together because it doesn't know what to do. Everything that we see, everything that we hear, everything that we touch has purpose because it's God in form. How often do we, once again, look at those challenging things, the isms? How many times do we see the Harvey Weinsteins and we bless, knowing that that is God in human form, and the human part of him forgot or never knew who and what he was? Now that doesn't mean, because once again, Emma Curtis Hopkins says, don't think that this teaching says empty out the prisons. Don't think, no. Because the human side of us must pay what karma says. But the spiritual side has to see and acknowledge the spiritual side. So rather than get in our feelings about how often do we stand on truth? How often do we let our minds be the one mind? How often do we take the road less traveled in our own lives, rather than bemoan how little money we have, or how little health there is showing up, or how little friendship, how little love, how little whatever creation is, when there is absolutely nothing in creation, ultimately, that is little. Because even if you were to look at a single grain of sand under an electron microscope, it looks like the surface of a planet. It's huge when seen from the right perspective. Everything in creation demonstrates great opulence. Great! I said this recently. Take one tree. One tree. How many leaves are on that one tree today? From the time that that tree grew and could ever sprout leaves, how many leaves were ever on that tree? For the length of time that that tree will ever be what it is, how many leaves will it ever have? Now, how many leaves are on every tree that has ever been and ever will be? How many grains of sand on every beach, on every place of this planet? Everywhere there is great and glorious opulence, even within our own body. The number of cells that we have more cells in our human body than there are people on the planet. But we focus on the pain because it's present and it's easy to focus on. We focus on the fear because it's present and I understand. I'm not saying I'm the one exception that doesn't. Did I share with you when my mother went missing? So several weeks ago, my mother goes missing. My brother, Tyrone, goes to the house and she's not there. And he's like, well, maybe she went to pick up her medicine instead of waiting for me. So he leaves and he calls. It's like 2 hours later and she still didn't pick up the phone. So he waits a while, goes and runs some errands, and it's now around 2 o'clock and he goes back and she's still not there. So now he's concerned. Now it's 5 o'clock and 6. Sun's going down. My mother hasn't been out after dark unless she's in the car with me since 1997 or 8. Now it's 7 o'clock. It's dark. It's 8 o'clock. He's terrified now. He calls the police. I tell Tracy I need to go for a walk because I felt where my mind was starting to go. And I left the house and I started walking around the block. And as I'm walking, I'm clearing my mind. Clearing my mind to allow the one mind to be the only mind I heard. And I walk. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one, the infinite, absolute self, and I recite, and I'm on my 3rd lap around, and I get to my 4th lap, and I get to a point and I pause and I say, 1, she's either going to be found or she's not going to be found. There are no other options. Right? They're either going to find her or they're not going to find her. There's no in-between. If they find her and she's alive, all is well. If they find her and she's dead, but she can't die. Her body can be released, but the thing that she is as my mother, as God, cannot die. And I breathed. What if they don't find her? What if they don't find her and she's dead and they don't find her? God is all there is. God knows where it is as her. And if it chooses to, for some reason, not be discovered by us, then it knows. And I'm okay with it knowing. And I breathe. But what if she's not found and she forgot who she is? And God knows. Oh, man, you got to keep reminding me that God, And I walked and I recited till I got to the point where I said, no matter what happens, I know that there has to be a part of her that is fine, that is safe, that is taken care of, even if I don't know. There is a power and a presence far greater than this tiny little body showing up, is this tiny little body showing up in and just as me that knows. God knows. And I'm okay. And as soon as I got to that point, the phone rang. Ty called me. And I answered. Because all the while I'm walking like, the phone's ringing. I'm like, I'm scared to answer. Oh, it's not him. Ring. Oh. Once I surrendered, the phone rang and I looked and it was Ty. And I answered. I said, what's up? Where was she? And he said, she went shopping, lost track of time. The police searched the house. She came home when the police were walking out of the house and she cussed them out, told them to get off her property. They bowed and they left, but she's fine. And I said, I know. I'll talk to you later. I hung up the phone, I walked home and told Tracy, she's fine. And Tracy was like, yay. When we get to a point when we can surrender, when we can let go and know that yes, there is the human mind that is part of the experience of being finite. Yes. We are here to experience this thing called duality. For whatever reason, we are here to experience it. But keep in mind, how many people said you cook? Is there ever a time that when you cook lasagna, that the lasagna becomes you? No. In essence, you put your heart and soul into it, might even put a foot in it, but it never becomes, hello, I'd like you to take a slice of me. Like you never, doesn't happen. But we talk about God being our creator as if there's God the creator and this thing that God created, and they are two separate things. God made lasagna. The lasagna is not God. I made lasagna. It's not. But in essence, it's one and the same. When we get to understand that there is only God, God is all there is, and it created out of itself all of us. We are it. And the more that we think in line with this, that I am not just divine, but I am divinity expressing from the top of my head to the soles of my feet, from the surface of my skin to the deepest recesses of every quantum particle that makes up this body. It's all God. And it's all good. Even the pain that I want to dismiss. Even the fear that I want to run from. Even the shadow that I want to deny. It's all God. And when we run and when we deny, that's when we suffer. That's when we prevent ourselves from expanding. That's when our atmosphere, remember what I read about that atmosphere? That's when our atmosphere becomes one that is a stench. No one wants to be around the Debbie Downer. No one wants to be around the one who is always complaining. No one wants to even be around the practitioner or the minister who is always bemoaning the things and problems with the center or the world, etc. But the one who speaks from a place of knowing, I can't prove it, but I know. Right here, right now, I cannot prove that I'm breathing oxygen. I can't prove it, but I trust, because it's what I learned. I can't prove that I'm speaking to, I could be standing there speaking to myself. I can't prove it. Because even if I go down there and touch, there are people in hospitals right now who believe they're talking to people that other people don't see. So I can't prove it, but I trust. And I know that there is love, and the love is radiating, and I feel that. I trust that when I was in elementary school and middle school, and we had to learn about the solar system and the planets, I started reciting, Mr. Velasquez's Elephant Mary just sat upon 9 peanuts to help me remember the planets. When I was learning this amazing thing, it was every good boy does fine. Face. And then you practice and then eventually you release and you let go. So that's where we are now. We are being invited to get to a point of let go. Let go and let God. Let the mind that we use more often be that mind. Because the things that that mind can do are infinite, unending, and powerful in ways that our human mind can't even fathom. Remember that Soren Kierkegaard said, when you label me, you negate me. And when we label God and we try to put God in a box, not only are we labeling that power, but we are labeling and limiting our abilities, because when we make it weak, we're making ourselves weak. So expand, and expand, and expand. Let's treat. Simply allowing ourselves to breathe. To breathe and to know that it is not we who are breathing ourselves, but that it is God, that it is the universe itself breathing itself as us. And so in this divine and holy ruach, the divine breath that creation is, I surrender and know that God is all there is. One power and one presence, called by many names, and yet love is. Magnificent is. That omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence that God is all there is. And that knowing it is all there is, it must be right here, in, through, and as me. To the degree that I understand that these are not my words, but that these are the words that the universe is speaking about itself, through itself, and back unto itself. And that's why I know and trust, I can declare and affirm that that which God is right here, right now. Love, joy, harmony, opulence, abundance, health and well-being, infinitely present right here, right now. There is nowhere that I could ever go that God is not. And so what I know that it being all there is, I speak this word knowing that health is in this body. Health is in the body and minds of everyone in this room. Health and well-being is in the body of everyone that everyone in this room knows. Knowing that whatever circumstance or situation that our friends and our family are enduring and experiencing right now, God is present, not just with them, but God is in them and God is them. And knowing that God is right there, infinitely, intimately, one with, in and as all. Gratitude wells up within me. Gratitude knowing that there is no need to worry, no need to fear, no need to dwell on rumors of wars, simply surrendering to knowing that God is. Goodness is the one power and the one presence. And so with this gratitude that I am feeling, I can release this word knowing